I'm here with actually probably about now. I can leave yeah, about now.
Yeah, no, I will set that.
Everybody's up today. Usually nobody sits up. Sit down.
This is all that's left. This is all that's left. We have to behave.
Oh, I'm gonna say that. You know what? You see
Just like
behind
church,
it.
you know,
Yeah. It's more engaging. I mean, especially if you want to learn. I always say back in college because I didn't want to learn in that point.
Yeah, I can't sleep out there. You gotta stay awake.
Well, yeah, so this is so someone asked
I think you can survive, right? It goes a bit easier.
Lisa left.
And you can't.
I was big. Yeah, test that, see if it's there. Okay, it's 8:30. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the East Central Indiana Social Media Group. I'm Matt Cowell, and we are a all-volunteer committee that helps put these events on every month. And I'd like to recognize a few people that helped put this together. Number one, Peggy Snova from the Indiana Small Business Development Center. How about Lisa Hoover from the Yorktown Public Library? She's not here today, but Jamie Faulkner from Mutual Bank helps us out. Also, I haven't seen her this morning, but Melanie Howe from Addison Avenue Marketing helps us out as well. Always here, Jennifer Green from the Downtown Business Connector. And Matt Bloom from Indiana Public Radio. Where you can give now because it's the fall campaign, right?
That's right.
There you go. How many people in here is this? How many people? This is your first meeting you ever been to here at the social media group? I see some hands there. Yeah, put your hand down. Very cool. That's a good amount this time. Be sure to silence your mobile devices, but don't turn them off. Feel free to use social media. Let everybody know where you're at. We've got our hashtag ECISMG. If you'll use that in your tweets and your posts and your Instagram, we go back and look and see what's happening in the room, and of course that connects people as well. Right now we're going to go around to the room. We're going to introduce ourselves, and what we're looking for is your name and organization, and then the answer to this question in 140 characters or less. So you have to be short to the point, and it's a tough one. So what is your best productivity tip or hack to get more done? What do you use to get more done and be more productive at work or whatever you do? Okay, so name, organization, what's your best productivity tip or hack? Let's start up front. Matt, why don't you start us off?
My best productivity. I'm not very productive. Yeah, I'm not very good at answering this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Steve.
Steve?
Okay. 144 characters.
Yes.
Condemned.
140. You got to take out 4.
Muncie Mission has a lunch today at Texas Roadhouse. I have tickets available. Muncie Symphony Orchestra has a special event coming on November 14th. The Magical Music of Disney, and I have brochures on that.
How about your name and organization?
I did exceed the 144 characters.
Oh. Steve Perry, everybody. All right. No, you don't have to stand up.
Sean Mattingly from WLBC, WERK, 6 of our other radio stations we have in Texas. And I'm also working as a volunteer for my wife's dog grooming business, which is Brandon and Anderson. Not getting paid for that.
What's your project?
Productivity tip would be, I have to limit the time I spend on social media at the computer. Otherwise, a 1-hour session, they stretch into 6.
My name is Sharon Grubbs, with Western Star Yes, and my new productivity thing is finish it or just do it. Go ahead and do it and get it done, and don't put it off.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Anderson. I'm with Yoga and You, yoga instructor. Just received the registered certification from the National Yoga Alliance after an intense year of study. And I also work in Muncie Community Schools. I'm a longtime educator. Have held various positions in area school corporations over a number of years. Taught Ivy Tech, taught basic and different things like that. My best productivity tip is to make lists. I even put Post-it notes on my steering wheel, all over the car, all over the place. So that's it.
Kyle Mundell, Toys Forever Models and Hobbies downtown. As a small business with only 2 people, most of it is realizing strengths and weaknesses. If I'm weak at something, I can go to my brother and say, hey, you're better at this. Handle that because it'll save me time. If you've got something on your platter, I can take that if I'm better at it. Use that, use the productivity button.
Myself, James Satisfaction, President of ECI. My productivity tip would be, I also do this the night before, when I leave every night, I write down what I need to do for the next day, make sure that I remember that when I come back in first thing in the morning.
My name is Josh Matthews with Primerica Financial Services, and I'd say my best productivity hack would be I have no notifications go up on my phone or computer, and I only check my text like once a I check them on the hour every hour.
Hi, I'm Cindy Nora Turner, and I'm here on the two maps today. One is my business as a watercolor artist, and the other is my husband's business, Simple Chores and More. And I recently retired from Ball State University 2 weeks ago. And so I'm just kind of trying to figure out some ways to push these businesses further, and I really don't have time. It's hard to work 2 full-time jobs, so how people do that. I do use the lists a lot, but one of the things I use a whole bunch is anything, and I don't mean just appointments or things like that. Anything I want to get done, I put it on my calendar, and it reminds me, because I need reminders constantly to get back on task. The other one is the little notes app that comes with your device. I store all kinds of things in it. And it's so easy to go back there to find them, some of the little pieces of paper or notes or whatever. So those are my 2 favorites.
Hi, I'm Julie Lacey. I'm the marketing director at ECISMG Oct. Been there a little over 8 years, but I've been in marketing for 23. As far as good productivity, I would suggest staying on your email. It seems like there's days that's all you do. Or set certain times to just check your email.
My name is Christy Rangel, and I'm with Whole Heart Communications, and I'm also a list person, but I even brought my own paper today. I have, I write the list on my schedule for the day so that I set aside certain times to work on things. Otherwise, I can get sucked into it fast.
My name is Missy Lampe. I'm with A&P Quality Home Care. We are a new business. I kind of like everyone else's. I have the to-do list. I have the just do it, and I do limit my time in my email because it can be a time taker.
My name is Caitlin Hancock with the Central Indiana Regional Partnership, and at the end of every week, I plan out next week's tasks.
My name is Kathy Way, and I'm the assistant chair of the English department at Ball State. One thing that I found myself really using lately is it's called the Eisenhower method. And basically, you divide all the things you have to do into things that are urgent or important, and not urgent and not important. And when you remember that you're actually supposed to be spending 80% of your time on long-term kind of work, not things that are just like emergency, 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 emergency. And I found that that's really helpful.
I'm Leslie with the Ball State History Department. My easiest productivity hack would be to prep the night before. It's something, we have a very short time window of time in the morning to get ready. So if we get everything done before we go to bed, we get up, get dressed, get breakfast, out the door.
I'm Shirley James, also from the Ball State History Department, and my productivity hack is I actually use a program called OneNote, Microsoft Notes, and it's like a small time for your reminder. So I've got my to-do list in there, I've got all my notes for every meeting I go to. I keep track, it's my brain. Everything is there. OneNote.
Jason. Jason Benetti, Muncie Sanitary District, and I'm just using contact clues here at the end of the night. I do a to-do list and post notes.
My name is Callie Swanson, and I'm with Tiger Support Services, and my biggest productivity hack lately has been just awareness. I started using recipe time, which is an app in the background of all your devices. It tells you how much time you're spending in different areas. And I use Toggle, which is a time tracker to track all of my time. And then weekly and monthly, I review that and see if I've been wasting a lot of time, and then try to make changes for the next week.
I'm Jay Matthews. I'm an intern for the Muncie City of Eden. And I would say the biggest productivity tip that I can give is just don't procrastinate. I'm surprised I haven't heard that. Just do it now. Don't do it. Oh, actually hear the word procrastinate.
Yeah, well, I do that a lot.
I'm Josh Hallowell. I'm on staff pastor at New Life Presbyterian Church. We're starting a new congregation in the pastor, and my best productivity. I've tried like a whole bunch of different electronic apps to make lists and all sorts of things. My favorite has been an app called Nozbe, and it was ZBB. It lets me categorize lists and create projects. And so the best way that I can use that is when I get an idea of something I need to do, I just put it in there and then I'll get it back and it's saved. So I don't have to keep things in there.
My name is Luke Bell. I'm a PR intern for the Boston English Department, and my tip is to plan ahead. I've got everything mapped out ahead of time and on task when it's in here, so I can still accomplish everything.
I'm also a PR intern. Productivity hack that I would swear by is the enrollment method, which is 25 minutes of work separated by 5 minutes.
Lois Altman from the Iowa Soup Kitchen. My productivity, wow, I guess is make sure that list is all done the night before and everything is in place, including in my car. That sounds wonderful. I'm Peggy Sedova, a recovering and ever fighting procrastinator. And I would say that one thing I've read the last month that I've tried to do is put 3 things you're going to do, the 3 most important things you're going to do that day on a piece of paper and keep looking at it all day when you're going through your emails and your Facebook and all those things you shouldn't be doing. I'm a Vanderbilt list for all state in the online distance education division. I do a lot of things to keep on task, but what works best for me is each Friday, when I'm kind of wrapping up the week, I make a list for the next week of the things I have to finish, have to accomplish. And then I'm also a procrastinator on projects that I don't want to do or aren't as fun. So I'll set a timer on my phone to make myself work on it for 30 minutes. That's wonderful. And normally when I do that, when the timer goes off, like I'm so invested.
Hello, I'm Shonda Cohen with Farmstead Second District. I do a lot of this, but I had dedicated 2015 as finishing all the projects that I accomplished.
I'm Janice Stamper with Frederick's Incorporated General Contractors out of Pendleton. I'm a project manager there, but as a small business owner, do a lot of things, including marketing, whatever else needs done. I do a lot of what everybody does, a list, but I think the most important thing I do is the clear clutter, whether it's digital or paper, and I pre-stage anything I have to do, whether it's a meeting or a project, and I have to do that before we leave at night, or I can't sleep. That's what clears my mind.
Russell Jones, I'm with ACE Sign Systems. My favorite app is OneNote as well. It saves between my devices, so if I go to a project meeting, I can take notes on my phone, and I get the office on my computer. And I guess the other thing is I try to do a really good job of delegating to the people that I work with. Feel better, be efficient.
Scott Gower with Anderson University, and I am in an organizational disaster area. But one thing I have, I try to make lists, but then I can remember to write stuff down. And then I try to use a calendar, but then I have to remember to look at it and remember to put things in it. So that's always trouble. But what I like to do is I keep my email inbox immaculate. I file everything that's been done. And so then it's, I guess in a way, it's a list other people create for me, which is really the best thing.
Greg Zirkle, Top Business Strategies, do a lot of marketing projects, and when I have to crank something out, I will change something in, it's like a college tip, change something in my environment. If the door's open, I'll shut it. You know, if the door's shut, I'll open it. If I have to write, I'll go to Pizza King and find a quiet corner. But then worst case scenario, so
My name is Robert. I'm a real estate broker. Productivity can be a challenge. It's hugely for me. Productivity and organization is a lot of people. I have tried, everybody else, like, notifications, whatever, I'm going to keep myself productive. I found the easiest thing for me, as far as I'm not a morning person, I get up early in the morning before the kids, before everybody else, and I used to sit down and plan out my day, that's where I do my list. And then I have it right there in front of me, I've already got the mindset of what I need to accomplish that day. And I usually find that where I think I would have like all day long, where it doesn't actually accomplish it fairly early. Sometimes you get into the week early, so.
My name is Julie Ricker, and I'm one of Kathy's PR interns in the English department at the city. I tend to stay away from electronics because the internet is really everything. So I definitely keep lists and be posted it, but I keep it in one central location.
I'm Mike, I'm retired from logistics production. One of the productivity I advise you is I flag all incoming or inbox items. Red, yellow, and green flag. Red being do immediately. Yellow is 1 week. Green is 2 weeks and beyond. Sometimes you have to repost the colors on it. That's how I get through it.
Jackie Johnston, community volunteer. I have two. If I do things that's not on my list, I write it on my list so I can cross it off. And if I have a whole lot to do, I take a nap first and get that out of the way.
Ken Rigg, I teach martial arts at I'm a big fan of the Pomodoro technique. Also, when I'm in, full-on creative mode, writing, blogging, whatever, I shut the phone and the email off. I don't talk to anyone. I just, put it over and just, isolate myself.
I'm Lisa, who works at the public library, and at work, we have now implemented this new little program within our program that we use every day to be able to check stuff in and check stuff out. But it's where our patrons, we have it set up to where it will notify them by text that they may not hold ready or that they have things due the next day. Well, now they have the option to be able to text us back. And so that'll pop up right on our screen and we can just answer them right there. And it's cut down on phone calls like by half, which is really kind of awesome.
Yeah. I'm Sheena Peters. I'm from Writing and Strategic Services. And one of the things that we use is Basecamp, and it's a great way to keep a to-do list for each client that we have. We can track our time and we can make notes on them too, so that helps keep us all organized. And another thing that I use is color coding.
What did you say the software was?
Basecamp. I'm Marcy Smith. I'm the Community Engagement Director at the Community Foundation. And I'm definitely a list maker, make a lot of lists, but I also do the 2-minute rule. So if I can accomplish it in 2 minutes or less, I just do it so that it doesn't have to take time to write on my list or put a task or anything like that and file it away. Definitely keep my inbox meticulously clean as well and file those things away.
Judy Porter, ACT Central ISBDC. I am a little bit more organized at work than I am at home. I make a lot more lists than I used to do. I would have like a bunch of lists to check off or throw away. And then at work, I push like the put the old plate and then the months and days and I'll do anything on my phone.
I'm Jennifer with Downtown Business Center. I've been advisor out here, just transitioning with all of the Google and those apps and love it. Besides that, I've been teaching for
Very wise network property services. I still use them 8.5 out of 11, but I'm going to swing over. I do it daily, and then I have to do it within the next month or whatever. I copy all of my memory at this stage.
I'm actually around on the beekeeper system, and I just learned a list maker, note maker, and we like calendar.
Good morning, I'm Janelle Schwartz, and I own Spirit on Staffing for Muncie. My tip is painful, but it really does work. You set that alarm clock a little bit early in the morning, get to the office, get some things that you can get done before 8 o'clock.
Very good. Is that everybody? All right, Matt Howe, Farmhouse Creative. I've got a combination of pretty much a lot of stuff I heard out there, calendars. And I didn't know it was called the Eisenhower method, but I followed that for quite a few years. All my productivity stuff I learned from a guy named Josh Brammer down there in Indy. We worked at SpinWeb together, and he brought all these productivity hacks in and really changed the organization back then that I've continued to use. But another two of them I do, I close the door to our office so we don't get interrupted all the time. But the other one that Josh told me about is write it down and read what you wrote. That's the #1 tip. So whatever electronical thing you use, Evernote, OneNote or whatever, it's great that you write it down, but at some point you gotta go back and read it. So with that, do we have surveys out there, Peggy? All right, surveys. Before you leave today, no matter what, fill out the survey. Tell us what you like, what you dislike, even suggestions for speakers, things you want to know about and hear about here in this room. Right now, though, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Marcy. She is from the Community Foundation of Muncie in Delaware County, and she has some great stuff to tell us about today. And she was our breakfast sponsor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us as a sponsor today. I am Marcy, and I'm the Community Engagement Director for the Community Foundation of Muncie, Delaware County. This year is our 30th anniversary. Hopefully you've heard that out in the community. We've been talking about it a lot over the last several months. We've been making a difference for Muncie, Delaware County for 30 years. A lot of people don't know that. The Community Foundation serves 3 main purposes. We are endowment builders. We manage a permanent endowment of funds for the community. Contributions are invested, and the principal is never spent. We use the amount earned from the investment to award grants and scholarships according to donor wishes, and these grants benefit people and nonprofit organizations in Delaware County. A gift given for an endowment provides ongoing support because an endowment is forever. It's never going to go away. And right now, our current endowment is just over $55 million. The second purpose is we're grant makers. We've given over $41 million back to the community in our 31 years. And at this point, we're able to award over $2 million every year. This includes grants to nonprofit organizations, scholarships for local students to pursue post-secondary education, and grants for teachers in K-12 classrooms across the county. We don't often talk about those programs, but they are out there as well. And then our third purpose is we are community leaders. We provide leadership to the community around key issues. We use our knowledge of the nonprofit community to inform our constituents on how best to approach their personal philanthropy. And I have a little experiment for you this morning. I'm going to get you standing, maybe some exercise early this morning. So if you've done any of these things I say on the list, I want you to stand up and remain standing. I'm going to run through really fast because Matt and Jennifer told me I only get 7 minutes and I have a video. So if you have served on the board or committee for a community foundation, I know Jamie Faulkner's not here, but she is on 2 of our committees. If you've built homes with Habitat for Humanity, volunteered for the YWCA or Better Way Shelter, known a high school or college student who has continued their education thanks to a scholarship from the foundation, seen a play or musical at Muncie Civic Theater, taken a class at Cornerstone, visited the Muncie Children's Museum, walked on the Cardinal Greenway, or bike, or run, skip, whatever. Have a child or grandchild in one of the K-12 schools in Delaware County. Live, work, or play in the city of Muncie. If you all up, right? If you're not up, if you're in this room, please stand up. Because the Community Foundation provided a grant for that projector up there, actually. So everybody's standing up. So the purpose of this is if you're standing, then you have been impacted by the work of the Community Foundation. We've all been impacted in one way or another. And then we can go back to you, the teacher, and city.
So in honor of our 30th anniversary and the impact we make on the community, we are celebrating with an outreach effort called 30 Days of Community. 30 Days of Community includes 30 stories in 30 days in October. So we're right smack dab at the halfway point through today. And we're telling these stories on a special website, 30daysofcommunity.org. It's about the people, the families, the companies, the nonprofit organizations that we're working with every day. Each story is inspiring in its own way and helps tell the story of the Community Foundation too, so we get to know us better as well. The 30 stories include 6 videos and 24 written stories. And today, Matt has the site brought up, and our video that we posted today is about the Lily Scholars. We're going to play it for you today.
My name is Katie Brown. I attended Yorktown Community Schools, and they kept me pretty busy between classes, games, and sports. But one of my favorite activities actually took place during the summertime, and that was going to the Diabetes Youth Foundation camp in Louisville, Indiana. I became a camper at the age of 9 when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I had such a great time at camp that I went back every summer. As a camper, I looked up to the counselors. Eventually, I realized that I wanted to become a counselor too. Now, in the summer before starting college, I finally get to work as a regular, full-time counselor, 24/7 during camp week. I want to be a role model for the younger kids, to help them learn how to manage their own diabetes. In college, I plan to major in pre-pharmacy so that I can join the fight against diabetes. I considered several schools, but after visiting Butler University, I knew that's where my heart was. I just didn't know how to manage it financially. But then, the Community Foundation of Muncie and Delaware County and the Lilly Endowment Community Scholarship Program made it possible for me to attend my first choice school. And of course, I'm very thankful for it. I look forward to using my education to help other people with the same needs that I have. My name is Olivia Miller. When my mom had breast cancer 3 years ago, I really learned a lot about myself through that process. The most important thing that I learned was my purpose in life, and my purpose is to try to help people and understand their journey. I developed a love for children with special needs. I had many great experiences in my time at Burns Laboratory School, but nothing gave me more joy than working as a volunteer with children with special needs. I loved all the kids, but I formed a special bond with one particular student. His name is Jeremiah. You could say that we became BFFs. I want to work with children with special needs because they have some of the biggest hearts. I think that there's a lot to learn from their kind and loving spirits. I'm grateful to the Community Foundation and the Lilly Scholarship Program for making it possible for me to attend my first choice school, Taylor University. As a student at Taylor University, I plan to major in special education so that I can imagine and work to create a better world for people with special needs.
That is one of our 6 videos that was sent to your especially if you are a parent. Don't forget to visit us on 30daysofcommunity.org all through October. The first 14 stories, as well as that video, are posted there. So feel free to go and check the other stories out that you've missed if you haven't been on the website yet. The postcards on the tables that look like this is the schedule. So find someone you know and go to that day and learn about them and how they connect with us in the Community Foundation. You can also get involved by going to our Facebook page, liking us there, following us on Twitter, and follow the conversations that are happening there. We are posting every day the links to our stories, and we're finding some neat conversations happening. You know, I had this teacher as a child, or my kids had this teacher, or I know this organization or this person. So that's really fun too. And just for added incentive, every time you share a post from Facebook or retweet from Twitter directly from our pages, it has the hashtag 30 Days of Community. We're going to enter you into a contest for a $100 gift card of your choice to Beer Maze Bistro or Possible Restaurant in downtown Knoxville. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, check out 30 Days of Community, and thank you for having us today.
Thank you very much. By the way, we're gonna get to our main presenter here in a second. I want to mention that we are live streaming again on YouTube this time. I've got to mention Periscope. Has everybody heard of Periscope yet? I was going to do it, but my phone was like 1%. So I don't even have it on me. It's in my office charging up. Periscope is a neat little app now that you can basically live stream yourself on your mobile phone, and people can watch you, and then they can chat with you, and you can respond to them right away. So it's very user-centric, but it's kind of cool. It's like Snapchat, but video all the time. It's crazy. It'll be a total time waste, so I can't wait to learn more productivity tips so I have more time to waste. All right. With that, Robby Slaughter is a workflow and productivity expert. He is the founder of AcceleWork, a company which provides speakers and consultants to a wide variety of organizations. Robby is also the author of several books that you may have seen as you were walking in, including Failure, The Secret to Success, and the newest book, The Battle for Your Email Inbox. Ladies and gentlemen, Robby Slaughter.
Efficiency is doing things right, but effectiveness is doing the right things. Those are the words of Peter F. Drucker, a famous management consultant. And I think that understanding the difference between efficiency and effectiveness is the foundation to becoming more productive with social media. Social media has become a dramatic and overwhelming and unending force in our society. It has completely changed the online landscape. Take you back in time just 10 years, when a couple of guys in a dorm room at Harvard University said, hey, I got an idea for a nifty little website. Well, that website now has more users than there are people in any one country on the planet. Facebook is more popular than any one religion and is used by hundreds of millions of people every day. And I think one of the reasons why it's so difficult to be productive on all these tools is that they are actually designed to make us inefficient. They're created in a way that's intended to draw us in, to make us social with one another, to share, to connect, to invite people to play silly games, and to get distracted from doing the important work that we need to do. And it's so hard to be effective because these tools don't want us to leave and to go off and do our work. They want us to stay and socialize and favorite and retweet and like. So this is an environment in which productivity is especially challenging. Today I want to talk about how to be more productive with social media, how to develop a plan for yourself and your business, how to better utilize your time, because as Drucker also said, time is the most fundamental resource. And if it is not managed, then nothing can be done. Well, a couple quick housekeeping things. First of all, I'll get Matt a copy of these slides if you want to email off the folks. Let them know. And if you have questions and I'm yammering on, don't be afraid to raise your hand or just yell at me. You can say, hey, Robby, or hey, idiot. I'll respond to pretty much anything. Well, I want to introduce you to a particular species of individual, which is really dominating the zoological landscape of many companies these days, whether it's large organizations or solo entrepreneurships. The contento managerius, or the content manager. Now, whether or not you realize it, if you are active on social media, you are a content manager. You are managing and creating and curating and sharing content every single day. Your fundamental responsibility, or at least your fundamental role, is to find things to put on social media. Now, I'm curious, what have you seen today on social media? Anyone want to tell us something they've seen already? Pictures of what? Pictures of people doing things, adorable babies that aren't yours, right? Other people's pets and weddings. Yes, lots of cats. Social media is 80% cats. I've not just seen pictures, I've seen tons of tips from this room shared on the ECISMG hashtag. We see all kinds of content that is being promoted, shared, designed, and our responsibility, our role, is to manage this content, either to put it out for our audiences or simply to take it in and decide to deal with it. And because we're so overwhelmed with this content, we find it difficult to get into our day. I heard one of the productivity tips earlier was to not look at social media so much, because a few minutes can turn into a few hours very easily. And I guarantee you there is no one in this room who has not been caught in the social media rabbit hole. We have all lost entire ages to social media. DeMarco Lister once wrote that there are a million ways to waste a workday, but not a single way to get one back. Well, now with social media, there are a million more. So here's the process that most of us go through when we want to create content. We get idea for content, we get requests for content, we have some interaction, it usually happens over email, and we decide that we need to deal with that information. And then we go and we try to broadcast it out at certain people. We have much more work to do, we don't really process and follow up. So we go into this endless loop in which we are not really managing the information that we have or broadcasting it appropriately. We are constantly going through the cycle of having way too much to do. We find this all the time with individuals. I have never met someone who says, you know what, I don't have much to do, my list is pretty low, things are quiet right now, I'm kind of looking for things to occupy myself. I only hear the opposite. I'm curious, how many people have checked their email since I've started talking? It's okay, I won't be mad at you. Thank you, not for being honest. We are so overwhelmed with work that the idea of managing our social media in a responsible way seems impossible. So today I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, how most of us are working today, how most of us are thinking about social media. And the fact that really the basis of this crisis, the basis of our problem is that we're emphasizing the platform and not the process. What we need to do is think about the workflow, think about the sequence of tasks that are necessary to create and curate and manage social media content for the ultimate purpose, which is to get more customers, to get more followers, to get more support, to get more students, to get more people engaged in what we're doing so we can generate more value for our stakeholders, for our shareholders, for our company, for our nonprofit. We'll talk about how to be productive in this environment, and I'll give you a 5-step plan. And finally, we'll talk about the most underutilized, most powerful tool in all of social media, which is reuse. So here's what most of us do today. We sit around a conference table with our coworkers, or we sit by ourselves in a coffee shop and we think, man, I've got to do something with social media. I have to put some content out there. I've got to tweet, I've got to be on Pinterest. This is Periscope thing that Matt mentioned. Is that important? Oh my goodness, what do I do? So we start with this conversation. And it usually has about 4 steps. Panic, crazy idea, more panic, and then stuff we forgot to do as well. That's pretty much the process. That's what we say is the process. But here's how it really works. Let's say that you want to put some content on your website, maybe a blog post. Well, first of all, you send emails, and you get emails back, and you discuss, and you discuss, and you discuss, and finally you get back this file, a file which has nothing to do with 2015 social media, in a Word document format, which is attached to the last email of dozens of emails. And then you say, okay, I go to our platform, WordPress or Drupal or whatever our platform is, and I go to create a post, put up the Word document, and paste it in, and then I realize that all the text from the Word document is completely wrong because it's got Word formatting and not HTML formatting. So I got to fix all those different broken things in there, and I got to add a title because there was no title, even though the title's essential what we're doing, and they got to go on from there. Oh, that's right, there's SEO. I have to add SEO, and then description. Wait, I need a photo. People love photos these days, and the writer didn't provide a photo, so I got to go to our photo archive, got to find a photo. Okay, now how do you upload a photo in this CMS this time? Okay, got to use that, go to the path, inside the file system, great. Oh, wait, I previewed the post and the image needs to be cropped. Okay, go back to the image editor, crop the image, crop the thing, reload it, upload it again, find it there, finally, okay, great, modify the post, oh, great. Now there's some typos in the post that I just uploaded. All right, go back, fix the HTML, modify the post, preview it, look at the content calendar. Oh, was I supposed to do this at this time? Well, we need content, doesn't match the calendar, whatever, we'll put it on the calendar, we'll schedule the date, and finally we're done. It's no wonder that the process of managing our content is overwhelming. It's no surprise because of the difference in the theory and the practice. The theory is, yeah, you find some content, talk to the writer, put it on the website, you're done. That's what your boss thinks anyway. But the reality is that it's incredibly complicated to be able to put content up. Even writing a tweet is complicated. You got to put it to 140 characters. In the opening, we're all challenged to put out a productivity tip, 140 characters. I counted. Nobody succeeded in doing 140 characters, except for our friend in the front row. That was good. I appreciate it. The rest of you wrote Twitter. Great job. It is hard to meet the requirements of all these social media platforms. The reality is that it's way different than write some content, put it online. Find some content, share it out. Look for a post and boost it. It is way more detailed. So what is the problem? Well, the problem is that we are focusing on the platform and not focusing on the workflow. And we have all these amazing tools these days to create content. You know, only a few years ago, if you wanted to put something up online, you had to be a programmer. You had to create HTML from scratch. You had to write Perl scripts and CGI scripts. You had to do all kinds of things and all kinds of technologies that are wildly outdated now. Well, now a person can create content, and they can do it using a variety of platforms. CRM tools, CMS tools, social tools. But do these tools really make our lives better? You know, they're sort of like the digital handcuffs of the 21st century. Because as much as I love WordPress, I also hate WordPress. And if Nolan was here personally, I would say, hey, dude, I love your platform and I hate it. And the same is true for every other software application. The more you think about it, the more you realize that it completely locks you in to its way of doing things. And it's not just the CMS tool, it's even your operating system, it's even your applications. The fact that people send me blog posts as Word documents is a good indication that they are using the tool they prefer, not the tool that makes sense. Because the first thing that I have to go do is unwordify that content. If someone says, hey, tweet this out, the first thing you have to do is figure out, well, is this even the right length for Twitter? Is the terminology appropriate? What hashtags do I add? Who do I put in there? When do I time it? How's it for overall content plan? Again, we are using tools that really don't help us as much as they hurt. Now, as of course with all things in the modern world, the answer lies partially in the Hilbert comic, so I'll leave you to the first couple of panels here. Two kinds of management problems, Hilbert says. The kind you can solve by yelling, and the kind you can solve by buying some kind of software. So the solution is, he's created software that yells. Of course, the answer is not more software. The answer to being radically productive with social media is to begin to think in terms of workflow. Now, workflow is a bigger concept than just what you do. And many of you, part of the hint at your own personal workflows. Ideas like the night before, decide what you're going to do the next day. Ideas like establish over the course of your day what are the 3 most important tasks and write them in front of you. Ideas like before you, instead of just saying something aloud, write it down and then read it out loud. Ideas that can really change the way you operate. And if you took away any of these aspects of your workflow, you would be far less productive, far less comfortable. A great experiment to do when you're sitting with someone at a networking meeting is to reach out across the table and just put one finger on their cell phone. I love to do this because it's a great way to make people uncomfortable. Everybody thinks that, no, that's not my personal space. Guess what? Your phone is part of your personal space. You get too close to someone's phone, they panic because their phone is essential to their workflow. The same is true of everything else in your space. So if we want to use a workflow-centric model for managing our social media, or really managing anything in our business, we need to use these 4 steps. First of all, begin with the end in mind. Now, all of us know that when we do a large project for a company, whether we decide to pursue a degree from the university, whether we decide to build a house, the first thing you want to do is figure out where you're going to finish. Begin with the end in mind. A second step is to determine what are the parts, what are the pieces that will be involved in this endeavor. And here's the third step, the step that's most often missed. We need to take those pieces and figure out how they are connected to one another. Are there sequences? Are there dependencies? Is one part larger or smaller? Is something a container around something else? Understand the pieces that are involved. And then finally, figure out where you're going to get those parts and pieces and indicate the requirements that you have. Now, we talk about this first aspect of beginning with the end in mind. Most people look at the features they have, not the outcomes. Abraham Maslow is credited with a saying that I'm sure you've heard before. If all you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. Absolutely. And so often we take the tools that are available and we try to use them. Microsoft Excel is not a database. And yet I hear so many people saying we've got an Excel database of that. No, you don't. You got a spreadsheet that you have packed together over the course of many years, and you are suffering without realizing it. What you should do instead is say, what's the preferred outcome? What is it that I want to be done? And how do I find the tool that's appropriate? Then look at the parts that you need. Don't assume up front that whatever tool you have available is going to do whatever you need done. Instead, figure out what are the parts you actually need and what's essential about them, what's fundamental, and how they work. Now, thirdly, most platforms, most systems have a hierarchy. They have an internal structure that you're supposed to follow, the manufacturer's recommendations for how to put it together. Well, you can follow those tools, you can use them, but instead of simply following the tool that's available, which probably isn't purpose-built anyway, figure out what parts you have and organize them appropriately. And finally, define your own requirements. Don't just let people give you things in any method that you want. Instead, announce. Let people know this is the way that I want to receive information. We often feel like we are a great resource to others, that we are magnanimous if we say any way you want to work, any system you want to use, any format that you prefer, send it to me and we'll deal with it. But really what that's saying is I'm volunteering to be ridiculously unproductive just to make your life a little bit easier. Instead, define how you want to receive things, when you want to receive them, the structure they should be in. So let's take a pause here for this process. If I have to be productive, it's really easy. There's only 3 steps to being productive. I promise, it's super straightforward. Okay, there's only 3 steps, but the reality is it's hard to put these steps in there. The steps are this. First of all, instead of reacting to what happens, plan ahead. When the phone rings, should you answer it? Probably not. Maybe you should answer it, but if someone's calling you at random just to talk, they're saying that whatever you're doing is not nearly as important as talking to them. So really, when the phone rings, if it's a scheduled call, pick it up. If it's not a scheduled call, maybe you should go to voicemail. Maybe you should say, hey, Matt, I appreciate your call. Can I call you back in 5 minutes? Can I call you back at 2 o'clock? The same is true of email, and social media, and other elements. Try not to just react to what's going on. Instead, try to plan ahead. The same is true for one-offs. Instead of doing things each time, one at a time, try to bundle them together. Try to do them in groups. Try to set them all up. And finally, instead of scrambling to get things done on time, schedule to do the work. Now, how do we apply react and plan, one-offs and bundles, and scrambling to schedule in social media? Well, in the case of planning, you know what your themes are going to be. You know what your business is about. You know what seasonal events are happening, when students coming back to school, when your nonprofit has their annual campaign, when your business has its typical interactions with customers, what holidays matter to you. You know those things. And so if you know them, prepare for them. You know what event you're going to go to. You know when you need to recap. You know what details matter. So you can actually write the content that you're going to need well in advance of meeting. Prepare the material before you get there. Likewise, there's no reason to write most of your content, whether it's Facebook posts or tweets or even entire blog posts, all when you need them. Instead, you can simply recreate them as bundles. For example, if you're going to tweet about a post that's going live, don't tweet it live. Instead, write 5 different versions of that tweet and schedule them out all at once. If you're going to promote something to an email campaign, write all the email campaigns you're going to use for each of your audiences over the course of the campaign all at one time and rephrase them accordingly. And each time you use a category of content, vary on that category. Search and replace. If you are doing campaigns that could be changed by searching and replacing the same text, Happy Easter, Happy Valentine's Day, Happy Christmas, use search and replace to update the material. And then once you have some content that you like, work your way backwards. Define the content that you need by defining the guidelines afterwards. Too many people say, we need to write some social media guidelines for how we're going to use the system. Well, that's great in theory. But in practice, get some content up first. And then look at what you did and see what you like about it. Then we can decide what guidelines are going forward. And finally, use your schedule. Take advantage of what's out there. Put writing time on your calendar and posting time on your calendar. And use the plethora of scheduling tools that are available. Buffer, Hootsuite. There are a million tools out there that allow you to schedule content. And allocate time to reply. Consider having an office hours time in which you'll be on social media to talk to people. Pete the Planner, the financial planner in Indianapolis, does this very well. He announces to his audience, I'll be on Facebook for 15 minutes, answer any question you want at this time. And gets tons of traffic and tons of opportunity and schedules out a ton of posts beforehand, indicating when it's going to do that. We allocate 15 minutes of this time to have conversations. You can do the same thing for your organization. Announce online office hours. So, move towards having a plan, focus on bundles, create a schedule. These are the basic elements of productivity. How do you apply them to social media? Well, my steps here are 5-fold. And if you follow these 5 steps, you can be highly productive with social media. I don't know where you are in your personal process, but the first thing that I encourage you to do is to pick exactly one network. Don't try to be on every network at the same time. First of all, this will drive you crazy. Secondly, since I've been talking, at least 5 new social media networks have been invented. So it's not worth trying to be on more than 1, or 5, or 20 at a time. At least start with one network. Secondly, before you do anything on the network, start producing some sample pieces of content. Write out what you want to put. Take pictures of what you want to put on that environment first. Then develop a strategy for converting people from being followers or fans or supporters of your content to actual customers. Determine your calendar for social media. When are you going to work on it? Where are you going to do it? And then finally review and monitor your progress. So let's talk specifically about networks for a minute here. And I put 4 networks up as examples. Really, there are 2 basic questions you have to ask. First of all, is my audience on this network? Are the people that I want to reach active in this space? I gave this presentation a couple of months ago to an organization that provides education for people in the trucking industry. And I said, where do you think your users are? You think they're on Pinterest? No, they're not on Pinterest. They're not on Periscope. Where they are is Facebook, and they're also very active in a variety of online discussion forums in the trucking industry. That is the network where you can focus. The second question is, am I allowed to be on this network? Now, for the most part, we think that everyone's allowed to be on every network, but that's not necessarily true. Many industries, only certain networks are allowed to be used. For example, if you're a realtor, you can be active on Active Range as a network. But if you're not in the real estate industry, not a good place to be. So all other forums are closed to certain individuals or banned from certain individuals. You're going to pick your network first. Decide where it is that you want to be based on whether your audience is there and you're allowed to be there. The next step here is to produce content. And I think there are 4 basic types of content that are incredibly easy to use. The first of all was questions. Matt started the conversation today by asking a question. And I love questions because they're easy to produce and they generate lots of engagement. If you ask a question online, people are going to answer that question. The second area is to find other sources of information and share them out, especially if they're relevant to your industry. So look for cool content online and share it. Radio stations are genius at this work. They find the latest funny viral video and they share it. And while you're watching the video, the entire time at the top of that video is that radio station's logo and name. They'll even take that video and they'll put a bumper before and after, which is their own station information. They're just finding stuff that's interesting or engaging or funny and sharing. The third area is to offer advice, to tell people things that are beneficial for your industry or business. And finally, to show empathy. Indicate that, hey, we know things are tough. Hey, we're happy for you. Hey, we're proud of you. Humanize your interactions. So by way of example, every day on Facebook, I have asked a question of the day. And I have done this every single day now for over 4 years. Here's the question today. What are the ingredients for the perfect hamburger? What would you like written on your tombstone? So the answer is welcome. What's something you hope never goes out of style? And what's a bucket list can't miss items for visitors to your city? Now I ask these questions, it takes me about a minute to ask the question. I usually do it while walking the dog. People send me suggestions, and I get tons of comments. Just from these examples alone, 14, 37, 35, 21 comments. I get tons and tons of engagement. The other day I asked a question, and I got over 70 responses. Half the time, I don't look at the responses till the end of the day. What this does is it provides a way for me to stay connected to my audience with very, very little effort. And where do you find the lists of questions to ask people? Gosh, you can look online, Google what questions to ask. You can buy one of those question books we used to get on camping trips. There are tons of places to get questions. And the same is true for advice, for content you want to curate, a way to share. And the third step is to develop a conversion plan. That's a mechanism to figure out how it is people will move from knowing about you to wanting to buy something from you. And this is a great image from Steve Patrici. And he shows on the left how things used to be. Before the internet really took off, marketing was about awareness and interest. You put up a billboard, you bought a radio or TV ad, people knew who you were, and said, yeah, I might want to buy that. That might be interesting. And then the sales process was about beginning to really consider it, making the smart, intentional purpose, deciding is this really the right product for me or which options do I want, and then handing over their money. But now the funnel has changed radically. Now almost everything happens in the marketing phase. People make virtually every decision without talking or interacting with a sales professional. We go online, we research, we check the Yelp reviews, we compare products, we visit competitor sites. Heck, you're buying a house, 97% of all real estate transactions begin with an online search. You want to buy plane tickets? It's the same way. You want to buy consumer electronics? It's the same way. We are doing almost all of our analysis upfront online. And marketing helps us decide consideration and intent. So you got to have a plan to move the process. And it's not complicated. It's just a question of having a system. Here's my Facebook conversion plan or Facebook question of the day. It's very simple. Add a little spreadsheet, very low tech. If you have never answered before, but your first time to answer, you get a message. Hey, thanks for answering. If you've answered 3 times, you get a call from me. Hey, I really appreciate you answering the question of the day. If you've answered 10 times or more, I send you a card in the mail or ask you for coffee. Because you must like me and my questions if you're answering 10 times or more. And this is how I sell books. This is how I get speaking engagements. This is how we get referrals and requests. Because people who are following me know who I am and are interested in this activity. This is very low complexity, but it's very high effectiveness because I'm doing one simple thing every day, asking a question, and then at the end of the day, looking at a little spreadsheet to see who's new. That is it. Now, step 4 is to establish a calendar for social media. That is to put together your particular plan. And you all these scheduling tools. We use Buffer, we use TweetDeck, but whatever tool you want to use, you can use. Then decide when you're going to be online. When are you going to post? When are you going to respond? Social media is 24/7, but human beings are not 24/7. So decide when you're going to be out there. Who will learn? People have learned that question of the day happens between 8 and 10 in the morning, which means that before I leave, I better ask one. Otherwise, I'll get messages saying, hey, Robbie, where's the question of the day? Believe me, your fans are rabid. It's crazy. Decide when you're going to produce that content. We run a blog on our website, 3 articles a week, and we try to get scheduled 3 to 4 weeks out at least. And once a month, I go and write a ton of articles. I don't write articles at random intervals. I do them all at one time. And of course, prepare for any trends you know about. Put them on your calendar. And finally, the 5th and final step for being productive in social media is to actually review and ensure that you are making progress. So look to see that anything you scheduled pops up, because sometimes these tools don't work correctly. If people make a comment, respond to them. Follow them back. Give them feedback. Put them in your CRM. And then make sure you're getting the results that you want and adjust your conversion plan accordingly. So 5 simple steps. Picking one network, using samples of content, whether it's curated information, whether it's questions like I asked, whether you're showing empathy, or you're giving advice. Put some samples together and put them out there. Have a strategy for converting people from being just fans, just followers, to being real customers. Put a calendar together for your social media. And finally, review and monitor your actual progress. So, this brings me to my final topic for today. Guess what this guy just saw? It's very sad. The content that was used only one time and then thrown away. This is the true tragedy of social media, that we do not reuse content. We should reuse content all of the time. And why do you suppose that is? Why is it good to reuse content? If you've written an article once, has everyone in the world seen it? No, absolutely not. There are new audiences. There are new groups of people who may be interested in your product or service. There are new spin on old ideas. You should be using content all the time. The idea of using something once and throwing it away is total waste. And yet most of us do exactly that. We go online, we write something, and we don't use it ever again. One of my favorite examples are comments. You ever been to a website and there's an article and someone writes a blog comment which is insightful, it's well researched, it's longer than the original article itself, and clearly represents hours of their day? Well, if you've ever seen that, you've probably done that. And if you've done that, you should be saving that content and using it for your own blog post later on. If you write more than 1 or 2 sentences in response to someone, consider saving that content and stretching it out into an entire idea. Consider tweeting it out one piece at a time. Consider sharing it individually. So the problem with content and the whole issue is that we tend to create it once and throw it away. To better understand this, we need to look at how content is structured, the metadata that's within content, and reuse it more appropriately, and develop a workflow that enables us to reuse it. So what is the problem? Why is content so often used once and discarded? Well, it's because what is easier to do and what is hard to do. It's way easier to make something and put it out there than to keep it up to date. I love looking at old articles people have written that are hilariously out of date because they reference things that are going on that don't matter anymore. It's easier to put stuff on a website than to move it. I write a lot of guest posts for other sites, which I love to do, but I also hate to do because I go back to that guest post a couple of years later and they've forgotten to manage the image libraries and they move it somewhere else. They don't add 301 redirects so that I can't find it again. I update my site. Things get lost and misdirect all the time. You should just say, yes, this content is good, then just take the time to edit it, make it correct. You should just to put something out there, then to plan ahead, and of course, just to find something that is to get actual information. And generally speaking, it's easier just to get more content than it is to make it. Content is easy come, easy go. And we really should be reusing it. The Georgetown University Law Library did a study a couple of years ago, and updated the study ever since then. They were curious how many of the online, freely available legal resources were still available after they were first there. They started in 2007, and every year they want to see how many of those URLs were still up there. Well, after 1 year, about 8% of them were no longer active. After 2 years, it was 15%. After 3 years, it was a quarter. After 4 years, it was almost a third. And by the end of 2012, they found that 37% of the online resources that were available originally were now no longer available at the original URL. That didn't mean you couldn't find them. It didn't mean that you couldn't Google around and get them eventually. It just meant that if you made an online directory or saved a bookmark, you couldn't get back to the place in the first place. So we're creating tons of content, and we're moving it around, and we're not maintaining these relationships. So content goes stale. People write lots of great stuff that means nothing anymore. And it becomes hilariously out of date. So what can you do instead to help manage this? Well, first of all, when you create content, take a couple of extra minutes and manage it. Here's what we do. Whenever I write a guest post, I put it in 2 places. I have a copy of the guest post in a folder for published third-party blogs with the date, where it was published, the name of the article. And then I have a shortcut to the place it was published. Takes a couple extra seconds. I save it as a Word document, so I always have an original copy. And I have a cross-reference to it from the archive of that particular publication. Which means that I can go back and see what I've sent to them before very easily, and I can also see the dates of when they were sent. And inside the post, in that article, I add some notes. I put the date it was published, who I wrote it, the style, and some notes, if it has to be reused. In this particular post about content reuse, I made a note that says final paragraph, because the last paragraph says, learn more, attend this content session on this date at 2 p.m. Well, that piece has to be removed if it's republished. So I made a note to look for it later on. It takes only a couple extra minutes to do this work, but it means that your content doesn't become stale, and there's a reason to see it. You can do it with images too. You know, you have all these logos that you use for your company or for your business. They go on every kind of printing material. Well, what we've done is taken the time whenever we get a new logo from a client or from someone to spend a few extra minutes and produce a bunch of versions of that logo in different sizes. We have an action in Photoshop that does this. Very useful. And then when someone says, hey, can you send the logo, you can upload one to the site, we've got it ready to go. You don't have to stop and go produce one specifically for that resolution or that background. So just take a couple of extra minutes to prepare to reuse things. That gives us finally 3 basic ways to reuse our content. The method 1 you've already seen before, it's repurposing. This means taking the same content and putting it into a new medium, a new platform. Tweeting logos on Facebook, putting Pinterest images on Tumblr, or taking your blog and producing a book. Over and over again, this has been done. Remember Julie and Julia? That's a movie based on a book, based on a blog. Take your content, reuse it in a new vessel. Method 2 is retargeting. Now, the way this works is you look for a new audience for old content. Here's one blog post on one site, and then we use a second site. And the way this works is that we just reference the post that's already here. Here's my blog post that comes from the third-party site. Here's our website, and here's quotes, pull quotes from my content. The person who wrote this only had to spend a few minutes mostly getting pull quotes and referencing them. So retarget for a different audience. And finally, adaptability. Create content in a way that can be easily changed. Here's a stock image that you can get of a guy reading in a library. With a couple of props, you can get 6 different images out of the same particular resource. So when you get something, you can notice interesting parts, pull the pieces out so it can be changed easily. Here's an example of who we work with to Chicago. And this is a bunch of content from their site. On the left-hand side is a breakfast and sightseeing article about great places to eat in Chicago. On the right says upcoming events for the weekend, April 26th and 28th. Well, in both cases, these articles were written by freelance writers with all the research by themselves. Well, with a little effort, you wouldn't have to produce this material in this way. What if you had a basic spreadsheet of breakfast spots with basic information about them, and the last time the reviews was run? Well, then if you wanted to produce a best breakfast places or stuff in this neighborhood or a cheap eats place or whatever, you could use the database, the Excel file with basic background. And you look at the details here, it becomes clear what can come from the resource rather than being written from scratch every time by the writer. Summary blurs, accuracy stored appropriately, etc. In fact, you can use this information more appropriately. Here's an article about whiskey theft. Well, guess what? Probably happens every single year about this time. So why not use the content? Why not write it in a way that doesn't tie it to that specific year? If you can plug in and out the dates that are happening. How can you repurpose on other environments, retarget it, and adapt it? And of course, you can take the information and put it in environments that are already available, like putting a newsletter, putting a tweet in a URL, and so on. And then once you have the basic information, why not pass it along to the other resources that you're associated with? Why not ask them to reshare your content? If you know the source, why not plan to use it there? And if you're writing content, why tie it to something specific? Why not make it adaptable? At least flag the dates, at least flag the content lifestyle, so that you can move from a specific time frame to a general time frame. The second version of this content is far more reusable and adaptable in the first version, because if this event happens every year, you can use this piece of text every year right before that weekend, rather than the one that has to be carefully reread with the date updated. So what's our workflow? What do we do? Very simply, we say, what do we need? We need content. Okay. So instead of doing it this way, we say, well, we need a specific element, like a press release for the event. And instead of just saying, let's write a press release, take a step back, look at the parts, like the letterhead, the speaker blurb, the event information, etc. And then create a checklist around all those items in order. We need all of these pieces for our press release. So let's go and find them in the checklist accordingly. And then what else can we make from the information? Well, if the checklist has a blurb, can we put that blurb into a tweet? If it has a speaker bio, we put that under our website. What can we save and organize and reuse later? So your content workflow should really be about these steps. What's the need? Break it into parts, treat that checklist accordingly, put your useful content together, and finally save and organize the material. So basically, when it comes to reusing content, the reason we don't put things back to use is because we don't focus on the idea that content can live forever. We need to rethink the parts that make up a piece of content, that metadata about it, and focus on those three ways: retargeting, reuse, and adaptability, so that we can have smarter content workflow. So I covered a ton of stuff about how to work today, about the platform-centric crisis, about how to think in workflow, those 3 steps of being productive, the 5-step plan, and the rule of reuse. So now I think what we're going to do is take a break, Matt, and come back for Q&A.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Quick break, 2 minutes. Hit the restroom, refill coffee, get back in here. Don't leave without filling out the survey. Go. And then we'll come back for Q&A.
I have a question. All right. One thing that really gets annoyed my productivity, and it's a pet peeve, is when you need somebody to get back with you. You need for them to give you their okay, their input, whatever, and you can't move on until they do. How you doing? How do you word something so that you're polite, you're professional, but it says that, hey, I need you to get back about this now, because I find that is so frustrating. And then you have to keep bugging them. You still don't hear sometimes, and you can't move on.
Lisa, I know you're really busy. Here's a copy of your opinion. If I don't hear from you by the end of the day on Friday, I'll assume that you're totally fine.
You'll assume what?
That you're totally fine.
All right. So kind of put some limits in the message.
Well, just say, hey, I mean, you know it's probably okay.
Yeah.
But you're back with you. Okay. So just delete this message.
All right. What if it's something like you really need them to do something on their end? Maybe not necessarily get back to you about it, but do something so you can get something accomplished. Case in point, I just completed my yoga teacher training, like I said, October 3rd. It turned out my email was submitted to the Yoga Alliance incorrectly by my teacher trainer. It was a requirement on the Yoga Alliance's part that she has to
confirm to them, send to them that I completed the training and all. Well, I kept emailing her about it and didn't hear and didn't hear. Now finally, I took it upon myself to contact the yoga ones and got it done that way, but I really needed her to get that corrected and to do it. See what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make anyone
I can't make them do anything, yeah.
I would say that brevity is your friend. And so if I need you to do this, I would say, Lisa, can you take care of this for me, please? And I put in the subject line, it says, please reply, or something that indicates.
So when you do that read, you know, the colon in the subject line or whatever.
Yeah, I would change it. I would say, please reply, or urgent need.
Okay, just put that instead of the read and whatever the subject is. Please reply and then. Okay. Okay, all right. I suppose I still could say, you know, I really need to hear back from you by today at 3 or that kind of thing, right? Okay, well, I appreciate that because I find I want to be polite, like say, and not pushy, but I am a type A too. Not everybody is, and that's really hard for us type A's with the type Z people. You know what I mean, too. It's like, come on, let's get this done. We got to move. I want to go. You know, and yeah, it's hard sometimes. But I don't want to be, you know, pushy and polite. But it's like, I want to get this done. You know.
Yeah.
So.
If someone do something, but if you can be polite, be assertive.
Okay. So it sounds like just put a time frame in your message. Whatever. Right? And with using social media, sometimes when I message someone, same thing. The same thing as email, basically.
All right. We're going to try to get started. We're going to get those people back in.
See, I just saved time with the Q&A.
We only have about 10 minutes. That clock's wrong.
Stop being social.
Stop being social for a second. Listen, does anybody have a question for us to get started? Parag, any questions?
You can reuse past questions if you want.
Yeah. Maybe I could have. Go ahead. Go for
How long did it take you to come up with these processes? How long have you been working at this?
Years and years. You know, I think most of us, when we encounter something new, the first thing we do is we just try to throw ourselves at it. And when we first started doing social media, we would just get up every day and do it. And we loved it. We would just write one. And we had one month, 5 the next month, we start client learning. But now we're realizing that planning ahead and having a process has a tremendous impact on our productivity. And now it takes us minutes a week to do it.
That's what we're all after.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, are there methods to determine, like, I know I've talked with Matt about this, and like, most people are on Facebook, so to speak, that would be our consumers or whatever, out of the whole scheme of things. But how do you know, like, maybe Pinterest would be better for me to use, because most of my clientele is on Pinterest. I mean, do you have an easy way to determine that?
Well, the first thing you do is ask your current customers.
Okay.
Send a survey and say, hey, which of the following 5 social media platforms do you like the best? Okay. And if they respond, that's good information for you.
Okay.
Who do you follow to learn from?
Who do I follow?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I mean, I think it depends on the topic, right? Like I like Scott Stratton on marketing or quality for marketing ideas. And I like Doug Carr, who's also in Minneapolis. It's great. I think it really depends on what you're trying to learn. So I would really find someone in your industry, a competitor in another city who's doing a great job, and copy them.
Workplace. Keep coming, buddy.
Becky's got them all.
Are your books for sale?
They are for sale. I didn't even autograph them. Thank you. I didn't even ask you to answer that question.
And you brought it to you?
I bought a big box.
Tell us a little bit about the latest one.
It's all about how to manage your inbox more efficiently. Most people have thousands or tens of thousands of messages in their inbox. Really, it's become a digital record of shame. Things we haven't dealt with. But really, what your inbox is it's a list of everyone who is waiting on you to get back to them. So this book is about a radically different approach to managing your inbox, thinking about it completely differently than you thought. Other questions about social media productivity? Everybody using scheduling tools right now? Remember we getting tools and using forms of the same message over and over again? Good. And we're using alerts for response. Yes. So the very simplest, you can use Google Alerts, which is a free tool to find out what's going on in your industry. Put your own name, names of all your major officers in the Google Alerts, put the names of your companies in Google Alerts, your top competitors, your clients. And that way, anytime that they are mentioned or you are mentioned online, you'll get an email from Google saying what's going on. I also like to put topic ideas in Google Alerts. So we write about small business productivity, time management, engagement. Google Alerts on those topics, which means that whenever the New York Times starts outputting about employee engagement, we hear about it. And then we can share the article, we can write a response post. It gives us a great ongoing source for content.
You ever get in trouble could you with sharing things like with copyright on Facebook or whatever?
Well, the sharing is different than copying.
Okay.
So it's been pretty clearly demonstrated in the courts that if I have a link to your content and I put a link on my website and say go to this website, then you cannot restrict me from doing it. People have linking policies, but the courts have said, hey, listen, it's a link. And on Facebook, when you share, those websites want you to share. What you can't do is take someone else's content wholesale and copy and paste it for two reasons. One is that it's probably copyrighted. You're violating copyright law by doing so. And two, Google does not like for people to have the same content on multiple websites at the same time. It's really hard to tell how much of an issue this is, but from Google's perspective, if you have the same content in two different places, word for word, well, which one is the real one? Which one is the canonical one? What you should do, if you own the content and have permission, is change up a bit, 15 to 30% of the content, so that it's different. And also reference the original source.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Like that whole concept.
Yeah, so we're a speaker consortium. We have 8 speakers in our group. I'm one of the speakers. We provide them to organizations like ECISMG and all over Indiana, across the country. So if you're looking for a speaker, they're looking for a consultant in a different area of business, I'm interested in listening productivity. We have another event going on right now, actually, which is about speaking to sell in Indianapolis. We have speakers on sales, speakers on leadership development. We provide them to organizations.
Now, I want to give this guy props because he doesn't do this for free. He's doing this free day for us, which is a big deal because he's one of the big dogs down there in Indianapolis who get paid a lot of money to speak and come to groups like that. So I want to thank you very much for doing this today. And could we get a round of applause? Don't forget those surveys, evaluation sheets. We use those. We're meeting next week, where we review all the information and we determine what you guys want to see, what you don't want to see, stuff like that. Marcy, do you want to come up and draw for your big winner? Everybody got your ticket? What do we have today?
It's a bag with a book and a pen and some note cards you can use and a whole bunch of candy.
All right, we've got 615-060. Email. I know. Wait. 615-060. Nope. All right. And the winner, 615-081. Ooh, 1-0. That'd be good. All right. 615-078. You didn't have that many people leave. All right. 615-085. My bullet from the right. All right. 615-065. There. All right. Where's my notes? Hey, before we wrap up, I want to mention the next upcoming events here at the social media group. Thursday, November 19th, put it on your calendar. Brandon Coppernoll will be here. I believe he's talking about Facebook advertising. It's supposed to be really good. Brandon Coppernoll. Thursday, November 19th. Every third Thursday of the month, we hold these things right here at the Innovation Center. Sponsored by Addison Avenue Marketing. Thursday, December 17th, this will be a good one right before the holidays. Ball State Athletics will be here. They're sponsoring and they're giving a presentation about what they're doing in social media. So that would be real good. Our social media forum is scheduled now for Thursday, January 21st, going into our 5th year of the social media group. Holy cow, I can't believe it's been that long. You can send your questions, social media questions or social media marketing questions, to group@ECISocialmedia.net. So if you have a question that you want answered, you can just email it to that email address and we'll keep. Of course, you can post online. We'll keep track of all that stuff too. Yes.
And you said that the presentations go with
You can get. We'll post it online and I'll try to figure out, send out an email to everybody that's on the list that's available. So, we also have the live stream at YouTube. Just type in ECISMG. Hopefully you'll find it. I don't know yet. It's still new. We did not Periscope today, so you shouldn't do that. Anything else? Anybody have anything else? I wanted to. There's the event today is Texas Roadhouse for the monthly mission at noon. If you want to participate in that, it's about $14. There was something on the 21st, 22nd. Ad Club or the AAF ECI. Yes, D. There you are. AAF ECI. You have an event next week.
Yes, on February 22nd, we're having a combined event with the student center at Unified Media at Boston University, and then touring the facilities is also invited teachers from 100 different advertising. So it's a great stuff for maybe that will be from 5 to 7.
To do that, Catalyst Athena WIBU is next Wednesday. Be there if you can. I think Robby's out there. He'll sign a book if you buy it. Thank you very much. You're free to go. See you next month.